Well, hello and welcome to another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. And we're out on location again this time. We're with Ryan at Cheshire Prestige Paintworks, our paintwork partner, as if I can't squeeze enough P's into one sentence. He's been doing the Old English White, the Jaguar E-Type that we've been welding up for a long time. And it's finally made it to the paint shop. And Ryan has been prepping and painting it partly in Old English White, and I'm going to be chatting through with Ryan. We're very fortunate here in that Ryan has got in at the same time a Series 1, Series 2 and Series 3 E-Type next to each other. So we're going to look at the differences, what's involved, etc. So I'm going to welcome Ryan now. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Ian. You good?
Yes, you?
Yeah, good, thank you very much.
People loved the F40 attention to detail and all that process. The car's now back with its owner, seems like a very long time ago now. And here we are with the E-Types.
Everywhere.
Are you breeding them? So we got the Series 1 here and the Series 2, open top sports, as they were called in Jaguar speak, OTS, or convertible if you're at the side of the pond, or cabriolet, or whatever, drop head, whatever you want to use. And the Series 3 there, which is, I mean, it was British Leyland, sort of, when the Series 3 came out. Yeah. So that was their Azure Blue, as it was called.
Yes, on the slightly longer 2+2.
Yes, that's right. They started off with the 2+2, and it was 9 inches longer, the 2+2. Yeah. And I think most of it was in the door.
Yeah, you can see the doors are massive on the Series 3.
Well, yeah, but they're so small on these. Yeah, I mean, for gentlemen of a certain age and a certain build,
squeezing in,
i.e. me, it's almost impossible to get in and out of one of these without the roof being down, because the space is so small. It's like a Mercedes SL Roadster with the hard top or or the hood up. They are almost impossible to get in, particularly with the wide sill. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that one is finished. Yes. Yep. But this is the one that we're concentrating on, and this has been, well, we've spent hundreds of hours sorting this out. We could have actually, we worked out, we could have actually bought a new Heritage body shell for the cost that we've put into this, and then we give it to you, and you tear our work to pieces. I mean, you say how wonderful a job we've done.
That's very good.
We have a sort of quality gate between us and you. So it gets to a point where we've done the welding. I don't know how many panels we've put on this. Lots. 20, 30, probably?
Yeah, lots. These two are very similar.
Right. Yeah. And it's hundreds of hours work to get to this stage.
Yeah. Nothing fits. Everything's oversized or too small, and you've got to manipulate it to make it work. Then the gaps don't line up how they used to, so you have to make the doors fit the aperture. Right. You can't get a door off this one and put it on that one, for example. It just will not fit.
Right. Yes, exactly. Well, they were originally leaded at the factory. They lead loaded them, as it's called. They melt molten lead, sticks of it, and then smooth it and shape it, and that's how they ended up. Yeah. I mean, modern car manufacturers would be horrified at being so labour intensive. Yeah. It was a different world.
We've always done that. We've always made life difficult. The Spitfires were the same. Messerschmitts were great, as they say. Pre-stamped, everything drilled, everything fits in the same hole. Yeah. Spitfire, each one's different. Yeah. Hand drilled, hand riveted.
Yeah. I believe it's the same. One of the distinctions between Airbus and Boeing, a friend of mine used to be quite senior in Airbus, was that Boeings are, I mean, the Americans did this with the V12, the Packard Merlin V12, Rolls-Royce sent them the drawings and they said, well, hang on a minute, what about all these what are these tolerance things? We don't want any of those. And it's the same with Airbus. Airbus rework wings to marry onto fuselages. Boeing, you can take any wing and put it on any fuselage, apparently. And that's the difference.
Productionising it.
And you'd have thought we'd have learned our lessons.
We never did. We carried on doing it.
This is 30 years after World War II, or 20.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he liked calling him a designer, I think he called himself an aerodynamicist. The chap who designed the Series 1 did the C and the D types.
Malcolm Sayer.
That's
Yeah.
So he was an ex-aero guy as well. I think on the Series 1s with the flared-in lights, you've got the bezel and the
glass.
Aerodynamics are better on a 1
yes.
than a 2 and a 3.
Yes.
Because you've got the open lights on these.
Yes.
Not on them.
Yeah, I agree with you. The funny thing is, and I'm digressing here horrendously, but the Porsche Taycan, if you look at the front end on that, it has a very strange headlamp layout. And there's 1 or 2 bits that could trap air in. Yeah. Actually, it's not smooth at all. No. And I thought to myself, why on earth would Porsche, with all their access to wind tunnels and world-class research and development, I don't know, I can't quite work out why the front of the Taycan is the way it is, because it looks like a bit of an aerodynamic nightmare around the headlights, but who am I to question it?
Could be reasons why. I don't know whether there's a hole there to cool the LED lights. I don't know.
Maybe. But as you say, I mean, this was an amazingly slippery car for its time, actually. Yeah. And the funny thing is, they made, I think it was about 70,000 E-Types, if not mistaken. Yeah. It was a lot. Yeah. We'll have to check that production figure and just put it on the screen. But I always maintain, if they made a few hundred of these in total, they'd be worth millions. Yeah. Yeah. But because they made so many of the things, they're actually, for years, they were overlooked. Every house's back garden had a tree growing through the middle of an E-type shell in the 1960s and 70s. Yeah. And they're getting surprisingly rare now as well, actually. There's the Series 2, this one, and obviously, I mean, 80% of Jaguar's market was the US. Yes. It was marketed as an XKE in America. Yep. And for that reason, they were, of course, left-hand drive, and they came up with these blanking plates in the bulkhead. So you've got the right-hand, this is an original right-hand drive car. A Series 2 Roadster, original. It sounds like I'm overemphasizing it, but I'm not, actually. That was the right-hand drive one. The steering column came through there, and they came up with these blanking plates for to remove for the US market. But the shocking statistic is, in spite of, if it was 70,000, I've done a bit of research on this a couple of years ago for another customer, and we came up with the shocking figure. We think there are 200 right-hand drive Series 2 Roadsters, original factory cars left in existence.
I wouldn't have thought that, would you?
Isn't that staggering?
It is, really.
Yeah. So few of them. Yeah. We think of E-Types as being, you can't go to a classic car show without an E-Type being there, really.
I think I'm right in saying the mouth on the 1 is a lot smaller.
Yes.
And then the 2s are bigger and the 3s are bigger.
Yes.
I think that was for aircon for America.
Well, I think air conditioning was an option on the Series 3. Yeah. I don't think it was on any of the others. I might be wrong. The Series 2, maybe?
Maybe.
But as you say, I mean...
The aperture for the grille and the intake's bigger, and I'm assuming it's for the bigger wrap for aircon. Yeah.
But the cooling system was only just adequate enough. It was like a wiper motor with the type of thing you'd buy from a £1 shop and blow yourself in the face on a hot day. That was the cooling system. Yeah. And on the Series 2, they went on to 2 fans.
Wow.
With a radiator shroud. Yeah.
Thinking about it.
Yes, exactly. But we love them. They were so ahead of their time. Yeah, yeah. But this body shell, the reason why they're so time-consuming is because they are so complicated. Yeah. So should we just have a little look at how one of these is put together and what makes them so special? Okay. Well, I think this is about as good as an E-Type tub can get now, really. Mm-hmm. It is pretty well spot on. James and Alex did a wonderful job of doing this, and you have, as I mentioned, there's a quality gate, joking apart, where it comes to you, yep. And you then say, well, what you've done is wonderful, but, ...
Yeah, sometimes I don't even ask now.
Well, exactly. Yes.
The language is there.
Well, yes, we won't say what kind of language.
No.
But
I'll swear behind my back, and then you...
Which in itself is a feat, actually.
Yeah.
But takes years of practice to do that. But no, I mean, it's looking fantastic. You've taken it to the next level, basically, which is great. I like, it happens in a lot of areas of industry where somebody signs something off and then it gets sent on to somebody else. Because the problem is we can look at this 1,000 times and we stop spotting things that aren't right.
Yeah, and there's certain things obviously you do with a restoration that wasn't done back in the day. I mean, obviously when we do the F40, you're trying to do it exactly as was. Now,
yes,
because these were made mass-produced in numbers, they weren't particularly built great or to last.
Yes.
So there's certain modern things we use now, techniques we do that for the longevity of the car, we do it really.
Yes. Well, exactly. I mean, this being a Series 2, it's a later car, really. But the early ones, if we look at the passenger's footwell there, you've got a sort of rectangular section built in. So what Jaguar did, this is typical of Sir William Lyons, the way he did things. I mean, it's clever, but the early cars, what are called the flat floor E-Types, which people hold in some certain reverence, that were the original cars, literally with a flat floor, same as that, a couple of indentations in it to strengthen it. But the problem was, people with big feet, their shoes were hitting underneath the dashboard.
Yeah, so you've got the drop floors instead.
So all they did was cut a hole in it. They specified a pressing, and they welded it in at the factory and gave themselves an extra couple of inches of foot room.
I could do with a couple of inches of height. 5'7" Ian.
Well, all the best things come in small packages.
Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, no, you've done a beautiful job. The owner has specified the original colour, Old English white, and it's going to have a blue interior and a blue soft top, which is lovely. But the tub itself, this is where the wiring loom sits in this groove here, and then you've got these tuneful lugs which simply hold the wiring loom into place. It's all very basic, but the level of technology for a 1961 car was absolutely staggering, actually. The likes of Enzo Ferrari was suddenly high and dry, really.
Monocoque.
Exactly.
Disc brakes all round.
Exactly. And I talked about this in a workshop catch-up a couple of videos ago about the rear cradle, the suspension that fits and that just slots nicely under the back end there. And
sub-assembly,
and in one fell swoop, you've got your whole entire back suspension, basically, a braking system. But this is a major stress area here. I remember years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting a chap called Sir Jim Randall, whom a lot of people in the car business will know. He was the head of engineering at Jaguar for decades. And I remember him telling me when they brought the E-Type out, they based it on a Norton motorcycle frame, apparently, if my memory serves me correctly. And because this area here, if we just move to the front, this bulkhead is sort of where it all happens, isn't it, really? So the front subframe bolts onto this. You're using this rotisserie, obviously, to paint.
Yeah, pretty much on the mount-up points where the subframe bolts onto.
Yes, these are the pickup points, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the whole, you've got two frames, one either side, and then a sub-assembly at the front.
The front one that holds the clamp.
And torsion bar suspension, which is literally a rod with serrations in either end, and the twisting action gives you your suspension.
Yeah, clever.
Fiendishly simple.
Yeah.
But to actually achieve this on a production car in the early 1960s was amazing. And we grew up with these, so we take them for granted, really. Yeah. But they were an amazing achievement. And Ferruccio Lamborghini is quoted as he had all sorts of cars in the late 50s and early 60s. And he actually said, who needs a V12 when Jaguar built this? And he was talking about his 6-cylinder E-Type. And he was no slouch when it came to engineering.
No.
So this is the rear engine mounting. So the engine has a bracket here where on the bell housing, and that bolts up that actually takes the weight of the back of the part of the engine, and then you've got obviously an engine mounting either side. But just a very, very elegant piece of engineering.
Yeah.
But the downside is they had no rust protection, did they?
No, and it got in everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's again. So on this one, it's painted a lot different to how an early one would be painted. I mean, it's not in one respect, it's white all over as they would have been, but it'd been a lick of white where they can get it, whereas on this, we were having a discussion before about the frames. We paint all the frames separate and we assemble it all in one once the shell's painted. I mean, from new, I imagine, the frames were on, everything were on the car and it all got painted in one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we were discussing the extremely fascinating topic of bolts, weren't we?
Paint bolts or no paint bolts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is, we've slightly different angle here, and I don't know who's right. I really don't. But I think they came from as you say. I think they just put the subframe on. They managed to set it up, which is a job and a half, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then nip them up and paint them on the car. But on the E-Type, you've actually left the new bolts all beautiful and shiny.
They look better.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know which is right, but both of them are right, I guess.
I suppose, yeah.
But if you, as you say, you're not going to chip the paint off if you have to readjust the front end for because the fitting the bonnet is.
No, and you have to shim it and gap it and everything else.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of that's done obviously when you're doing it in the prep stage, but I mean, once you've painted everything and added material to it, you always need a tweak again at the end once the bonnet goes back on. So the last thing you want to do is crack the bolt back off to adjust it or re-shim it again, and then obviously you're cracking all the paint back off your bolts. So they look better with the bolts. Well, my opinion is they look better with the bolts. Yeah.
Well,
bolts unpainted.
You may well be right, but it's something we're going to look into it. That's for sure. Yeah. But no, I mean this is now at a far better place than an E-Type shell would have been new, really.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it'll, you know, it's got modern seam sealer on it. It's got modern stone chip on it. It's obviously got far more paint on it underneath than it has from new, and inside and in the boot. So,
yes.
Yeah.
And the rear wheel arches. There is a gap at the front of the rear, at the top of the rear wheel arch, which on a lot of E-Types, I assume they came to the factory without any sealant in that gap.
Yeah.
And that the water and mud get in
Yeah.
and can't get out again.
No. It'll just run down the back edge of the quarter into the sill and out the sill, and then block the flute up in the sill and then rot the sill out. Yeah.
That's on a good day.
Yeah.
That's assuming...
assuming it gets out.
Exactly.
Once it's blocked, it's just filling up.
Precisely. And I have actually, going back to when people treated them with contempt almost, E-Types, when they were changing hands for £100 a piece, I have seen newspaper and putty in sills.
Packed in there.
Yeah. And it's all part of the car's strength and structure as well.
Yeah.
The moment you start putting anything other than steel in it...
No. You can't see anything going wrong at that point, because obviously all that's happening inside, you know, it's just rotting out the inner sill and part of the rear floor section.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it's not until the outer sill starts blistering, you know, you've got a problem.
Exactly. And then it's too late, really.
And it's gone,
But that is wonderful, Ryan. I'm looking forward to getting this back. It's going to be, because we've got everything, all the modules prepped, the engine, gearbox, suspension, braking system, etc. It should come together quite quickly, really, once we get going on it. But it looks fantastic. It really does. It really is amazing what a work of art these cars can be. No,
when they're all put together and they look like that one, yeah, they're nice. They're very pretty.
Yeah. And the Series 2, Jaguar did do a lot of refinements on the Series 2. One of the two main things was the all synchromesh gearbox, which was a very nice manual gearbox, which can actually take a lot of power. I believe they can take up to 500 brake horsepower without modification.
The Series 1s didn't have synchro in first.
In first, that's right. They had the Moss gearbox.
That's it,
And they were very much a lottery. You either got one that was quite nice or one that was quite not so nice.
Yeah.
And the other one was the braking system was very much improved. The original 3.8, it was a bit of a lottery as to whether you had brakes or not.
Yeah, yeah, the 150 mile an hour car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And they were apparently tickled up, tweaked.
Yeah, they were mildly tuned.
Yes.
We've seen this before because an ex-TBR friend of mine with the 0 to 100 test with Clarkson doing it, and the Cerbera takes off and destroys all the rest of the cars, and there is a Tuscan Challenge engine in that car.
Is there really?
Yeah. Yeah. I know that.
Well, I mean, this has been going on since...
Yeah, so it's the same as these guys. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's give them the tuned one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Give the press the tuned one, let them go and wallop it, do the 150 mile an hour.
Well, that was the magic figure, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For a car in 1961, that was moving.
Yeah, it was going,
Ryan, thank you very much indeed for your hospitality. Thank you for doing such beautiful work.
No problem.
As ever. Okay. And thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, that concludes another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop video. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll be back with something else very soon.